Hello and welcome to the third video lecture, and the topic for this week is job analysis and design. In the last 1 week we have talked about these two concepts in the classroom, and today we'll talk about a brief summary of these two terms. In this video lecture I would like to cover three major things. Number one, we'll talk about the concept of job analysis and job design and how are these two concepts interrelated and different. Then we'll talk about various ways and various methods of performing the job analysis. And towards the end, we'll talk about how should an analyst or an HR manager write job description and job specification. Because with my experience of about 14 years in academics and corporate, I can very well say that a lot of organizations make mistakes in analyzing the job. And many times I've seen that the job holder or the job incumbent is not very sure about on what is expected out of him. And he keeps on doing things which are not related to his job or not related to his job description. So in this slide, as I have written that job analysis is the central function to HR, or it is central to HR function. Here what I'm trying to say is that before you even start recruiting your people, or before you even think about how many people to be recruited, or before you train your employees, it becomes important to understand that what that job constitutes of, what are the roles and responsibilities given to the job holder, and what are the skills and competencies that are expected to be possessed by the job holder. And more importantly, it is very important uh, for the line managers, because most of the times line managers, they are not aware about the job description and job specification of the people or of the designations who are reporting to him. So job analysis is not only important to the HR managers, but is also important for the line managers, for the immediate supervisors, for the managers who are managing a team. Now, after saying so, we should know about what is the definition. The definition of job analysis is that it's a procedure, it's a systematic way of determining the duties and the skills which are required for a job and the kind of person which the company or the organization should hire. So job analysis has largely two aspects. One is the aspect of the job and second is the aspect of the person. So you need to read and understand these two aspects. And when you start the process of job analysis, you start with a question on what kind of data or what kind of information do I need to gather, and then how should I analyze. So the coming slides talks about what kind of information you should look for and what are the ways you should get the information, and then how should you analyze those information. So number one is what kind of information is required. So the most important thing that the job analysis requires is the kind of activities that are performed by that job holder or the incumbent. So that job holder may be performing 20, 30, 40 activities. So you need to understand those activities and then maybe group them into tasks and group them into roles and responsibilities. So you start, or you can start from other way around. Start from the role, then go into responsibility, then go into task, and then go into activities. So this is how you can gather information about what exactly does the person do. And it is important to understand where does that task comes from and who utilizes that task. Because many times what happens is we are not aware about whether the task or the activity that I am doing, it is being utilized by the company or not. So in order to map that, you also need to capture the performance standards. That if I'm performing a task or an activity, what is the set of expectation, or what is the benchmark, or what is the criteria in order to assess the performance of mine on that task. So performance standards is an important thing that people miss out. They only capture the activities in the task. They do not ask about the criteria to measure or the performance standard. The third thing that one should know is the job context and the working conditions. Because many times you advertise a position and you don't talk about the context. You don't talk about the what kind of culture the company has, what kind of department you will be given, what kind of working condition, whether you will be required to travel or you will be required to work in an AC room, or maybe some other challenges that you may have. So it is important for HR manager or job analyst to identify the context of the job and the working condition in which the incumbent will perform the job. And then most important from the person's point of view is about the human behaviors that are expected and the human requirements. In human requirements, we capture the education, the experience, the age, the knowledge, the physical abilities, and much more. So you try to cover the aspect of an individual or the person who is going to perform that activity or that task. And last but not the least, you should also know about what kind of machines, what kind of tools, what kind of equipments that job holder would be working upon. And in the job context, you can also talk about the relationship. Whom will be you reporting to? How many people will be below you? And some other things which you feel are important to be known by the incumbent and the line manager. Now the next question comes is, what are we going to do with these information? So we are basically going to create two outcomes, and outcome number one is job description. Outcome number two is job specification. So job description talks about, as I've said, it is about what the job entails, the duties, the responsibilities, the reporting relationships, the working condition, supervisory responsibility. So all these things together will form your job description. So this is one of the product of job analysis. And the second product of job analysis is job specification. It is about the human requirement. So it may start from the education, it may start from the experience, it may go on to the KSA, it may go on to the personality, and so on. So job specification is important outcome of job analysis because it will give you the knowledge about what kind of people we should hire and what kind of training needs and what kind of compensation and all that stuff. So these two are the most important outcomes. But then the question comes in, how should I perform the analysis in order to create these two outcomes? So the textbook has given a 6-step procedure, and it starts from deciding what will you do with the information that you are trying to capture. So what will be the outcome of JD and JS? So it can be planning of human resource or planning of HR, or it can be recruiting, or it can be training, or it can be making the person more aware about himself, about the job contents, or it can be educating or making the supervisors aware about what their subordinates are supposed to do or they're expected to do. So you need to decide upon the objective of this entire process. And then number two, you review the background information. You should know about the company's background, the industry background, the working relationships, and many more things. And third most important thing is then you select the representative. Yes, if you are starting with a new company, then you may not have a benchmark within you. Then you go outside your company and find out the similar roles or similar jobs and try to get information from them. But if it's an existing company, then you find out the representative. So normally it is advised that the representative should not be a top performer. It should be a top and a bottom so that you get both perspective. And many times you try to find out somebody who is an average performer also. So you have to select the representative positions. I want to do analysis of these three positions first, and then under each position, what kind of person or what kind of incumbent I should interview. So positions and the person, and then actually you analyze the job by asking a lot of questions, by using a lot of other methods to collect information. So this point becomes important. Point number four. Point number five talks about verifying the information that you have collected. So you may go to the person again and again, or you may go to a second person or a third person, and then you may go to the supervisor and ask that whatever information you have been provided by the subordinates, whether it is making sense or not. And then towards the end, you will come up with a template with a beautiful looking document that includes job description and job specification. When you start applying for a job on any job portal, you will find these two things are written, correct? So they may use different terms. For example, for specification they may say the competencies, or they may say a role summary, or they may say a role prerequisites, something like that. So you may use some synonyms for these two whenever you are looking at the job portal or any job vacancy at any advertisements, but they are must. Now you look at the methods to collect the information. There are four different methods that are written here, but I personally feel that the first two methods are the primary methods, which will give you plenty of information, whereas the other two methods are just to complement. For example, if you are doing interviews, so interviews may you will get a lot of information by the respondents, but you may miss out on certain things because interviews uh, are to be done on specific people at specific time. So many times you may like to add upon things which you observe or which you get from the secondary sources like the diary that the person has maintained or the logbook or the logs that are maintained by the department. So interview has its own pros and cons. It's more expensive, it's more time taking, and there is a lot of subjectivity to it because interviews are largely unstructured and maybe you may have some subjectivity to it. But then questionnaires are again a good way. So questionnaires are more structured. They give more time to the respondent, and you can reach out to many people. Correct. So questionnaires are a good way of collecting the information, whereas observation and diary they are good. But observation, the only problem with observation is that you may miss out on many things because you can't observe the entire day, entire week, entire month. So you can only observe a few things, the critical things. Whereas diary can also give you the things that are expected or the things which have been completed, but diaries may also not give you everything. So it is always said that observation and the diaries or the secondary documents, they can complement either interview or questionnaire. Moving on, the concept of job design has also become very very popular. Now, job analysis, you have done it perfectly. You have tried to map, but many times you find there is a problem. The person is not excited about his job. The person does not feel motivated. There is no lucrative thing that a person looks. So you try to find out the social and the personal requirements of the job holder and try to map these requirements with organizational requirements and try to give him some additional tasks or some different reporting relationships or some unique methods or some learning opportunities so that the person is excited about performing that job. So in a layman language, the word job design means making the job component more beautiful and attractive. But technically speaking, it includes correcting the contents, correcting the methods, maybe re-engineering the entire job description, and trying to satisfy the organizational and technological objectives with consideration on the social and personal requirement of the job holder. Now there are many ways to design the job, but the most common method or the most common model which is called as job characteristics model, which was given by Odam and Hackman in 1970. So this model talks about five major things that a job analyst or an HR manager can do. The most important is provide the skill variety. So people like to develop, people like to learn, people like to experiment. So give him that variety of skill in the job expectation. And then you can give them the identity. So people would like to know that what are they doing? What is the identity of the task that they are performing? So give them the identity which fits to the tasks that they are doing, and then make sure that the task that they're performing is adding value to the overall department, overall organization, overall business. So these three things, skill variety, task identity and task significance, it gives a lot of meaning to the job or to the task that a person is performing. And the fourth thing that they have suggested is autonomy. So autonomy gives a lot of responsibility, a lot of psychological empowerment to the employee. It gives a lot of confidence that yes, the organization trusts me. So the person becomes more responsible and accountable, and it actually motivates the person. And last but not the least is the feedback. Feedback becomes very very important because it is used in both the ways. It is used to compliment somebody, give somebody a pat, or it can also be used to correct somebody or critically constructively improving somebody. Correct. So job characteristic model talks about the ways by which you can design the job in a way which is more exciting, more meaningful, more responsible, and the outcome of this is definitely you will have higher satisfaction, higher career growth, you will have more effectiveness, and the organization's overall performance will definitely improve. I think if you can consider these points, you can do justice to the job analysis and to the job holder. Thank you so much. We'll meet next week with a new video. Thank you.